Late one autumn evening, Anna was walking home after a long day at work, and the small village where she lived seemed deserted. Her house stood on the very edge of the village, near the forest through which she had to walk along a narrow road. Anna knew this path by heart, but every time she walked it in the dark, a sense of unease wouldn't leave her. Something about the forest felt wrong, as if a secret was hidden behind the thick trees that no one was meant to discover. That evening, the wind rustled through the tree branches and the sky was covered with heavy clouds. Anna quickened her pace, wanting to get home as soon as possible. Suddenly, she thought she heard quiet footsteps behind her. She stopped and listened, but other than the sound of the wind, there was nothing. A little calmer, she continued walking, but after a few steps, the sound of footsteps reappeared. Now it was louder and closer. Anna quickly turned around, but there was no one behind her. Her heart began to race. She quickened her pace in the forest between the trees, where the path was narrow, feeling the fear beginning to fill her chest. The footsteps didn't stop, only getting louder, as if someone was following her in the night's silence. Anna couldn't bear it and ran, trying to escape from the ominous sound. She was almost at her house. When she felt a cold gaze on her, she turned around and froze. Something was looking at her from the shadow of the trees. A tall, thin figure, faceless but with brightly burning black eyes, stood still. It didn't move, but its presence felt like a pressure washing over her in waves. In a panic, Anna ran to the door of her house. As soon as she was inside, she slammed the door and leaned against it, gasping for air. She stood there for a few minutes listening to the silence, but there was no sound from outside. Anna tried to convince herself that it was just her nerves, that she was just overtired and imagining things. However, all night long, she was haunted by the feeling that something or someone was watching her. She decided not to open the curtains and lay down in bed, hoping to fall asleep. But sleep didn't come. In the darkness of the room, she constantly imagined movement, flickering shadows on the walls. Anna tried to convince herself that it was a trick of the light, but soon heard a strange, quiet knocking on the window. It was too faint to contain any threat, but in the night's silence, the sound was eerie. My heart stopped beating. Who could be knocking on the window at such a late hour? Gathering her courage, she slowly approached the window, trying not to look into the darkness beyond the glass. So when she drew back the curtain, she thought she noticed something dark outside the window. But when she looked closer, there was no one there, just the forest swaying in the wind. Anna returned to bed but couldn't sleep. The feeling of dread wouldn't leave her. All night it seemed as though there was someone in the house. Occasionally she heard faint rustling outside the door, but was too afraid to check. In the morning, everything looked calm. Anna decided she had simply been too stressed and tried to forget about it. However, the next evening, the situation repeated itself. As she was walking home, she again heard footsteps behind her. This time, she didn't turn around and ran straight to her house. But even inside, the feeling of not being alone had left her. The rustling, strange sounds and tapping at the window became her constant companions. As every night she heard something or someone approaching her house. Over time, Anna's life became unbearable. Sleep eluded her, and she found it impossible to concentrate on her work. Her thoughts were consumed by the image of the strange creature she had encountered in the forest. As the days went by, she started to notice that the shadows in her house had taken on a more tangible form, as if they were watching her every move. One fateful night, as Anna lay in bed, a sense of unease washed over her. It was as if someone was standing just outside her bedroom door. Peering into the darkness, she saw a thin, indistinguishable figure. Its eyes, the same dark eyes she had seen in the forest, bore into her. Anna was paralyzed by fear, unable to scream or move. A chill seeped into her body as the figure inched closer, each step accompanied by an audible breathe, as if it was drawing air from a void. Terrified, Anna closed her eyes, desperately hoping that it was all merely a nightmare. When she opened them, however, the figure had vanished. Little did she know, this was only the beginning. From that moment on, the shadow emerged each night, always standing in the corner of the room, motionless, yet permeating with an overwhelming sense of intimidation. The shadow never physically harmed Anna, but its presence was suffocating, making her life a living nightmare. She no longer knew peace or contentment. The shadow seemed to possess her, confining her to a perpetual state of fear and unease. Escape seemed impossible, as if she had become intrinsically tied to the shadow's dark existence. Anna was trapped, endlessly tormented by the relentless presence that haunted her every waking moment. One night, as Anna lay sleepless, the shadow approached her bed. Its cold breath touched Anna's face, and a whisper echoed in the silence.
You are mine, forever.